if you guys come this way, if you guys go that way, Remington. So now what happened now is Halifax. The White Star Line owned an office in downtown Halifax. On our way back, I'm going to show you on Holly Street, not far from where I picked you. They own an office there. So the White Star Line commissioned 2 ships from here to go out there to Newfoundland and do all the rescue. So what they did now is that they go to the scene of the accident, they pick up a body, and they put a number on the body. So today now we know that this person here, John Shear, is buried right here. Okay, we know that because it says number 11, John Shear. So this will be John Shear here. However, if you look at this very person right here, all we know is body number 241 is buried here. Might be a male or female, nobody knows. We just buried this person here. Because again, if you remember, most people were sleeping when the accident happened. And then somebody talked something about the class. Yes. What you see here were mostly, today now, when we came to Canada in 1986, we flew in. Okay? We flew in, my parents, we flew into Canada. But years ago, people don't fly in, come in here, they take a boat. Right. Today, even in the plane, they still have that first class, business class and the economy class. So I'm thinking back, I'm saying similar thing happened to what you're seeing here. Yeah. Most of what you see here were in the steerage section, way down below. Right. So by the time the accident happened, the captain, E.J. Smith, had a dilemma because they didn't have enough lifeboats. Had a dilemma of either rescuing all the passengers in first class, and they decided to say, no, that's not a good idea. So they got all the women and children in first class to get off. Some of the women and children from second class to get off. However, like I told you before, some of the men were able to sneak in. So some of the men sneak in on the boat, on lifeboat, and left the ship. So what you see here were people on the steerage section. So by the time they came up, there was no lifeboat. And the captain gave the order, all man to yourself. Some people jumped, some people stayed and cried, some people hold each other, just like that. I read an article about a couple, elderly couple that gave up their seat on the lifeboat. She goes, man, because they said women to get out. So the husband said, well, there you go, and I'll stay. She goes, where you go, that's where I go. Right. So 2 of them hold each other and offered their seat to another lady and her daughter to get on, and then they died. I told you there's a documentary called A Night to Remember. That it tells you from the account of the survivors what happened that very night. I got something for you.
I don't think there's any more living survivors now, right?
The last person just died last year.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought that was
all right.
Get off the grade.
Remember, what's this?
Disrespectful.
Jack Dawson.
Jack Dawson. And who played Jack Dawson in that movie?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio. So, Leonardo DiCaprio, James Cameron. You can take a picture right here. James Cameron, the guy that shot the movie the Titanic, came to exactly where we are right now, doing the same thing we're doing, taking down the names and giving them character in the movie. And he picked this guy here to play Leonardo DiCaprio. Play this guy here we're looking at here.
So he's real.
Kent Winslet, it's real, it's right here.
Right.
Kent Winslet was a lady buried at the Catholic side. He came to these 3 areas and picked up of the names, and then went up to a place called BIO and get all the true story about the Titanic, and then directed that movie. And of course, it was a very big hit. Okay. This name here, does it ring a bell? You might know. Does it ring a bell?
Bruce Ismay.
Yeah.
He designed the ship.
Okay, that's good. And what other thing again? Yeah, he designed the ship. And what other thing? Bruce Ismay was the guy that gave the captain, E.J. Smith, the order to step on it and just keep going. The name, that coinage, the unsinkable, the ship was called Unsinkable. Yes. That coinage right there was found by Mr. Bruce Ismay. Mr. Bruce Ismay, the captain. This is the picture of the captain right here, E.J. Smith.
Oh, they did a good job matching up the individual to play his.
Oh yeah, on the movie. Yeah, that's similar. That's the same way he looked. Yeah. Today we know where the Titanic is now. That is about 500 nautical miles from here. Okay, I'm gonna go into that. But E.J. Smith was the captain of the ship. And he's the guy that looked at the ship and the condition in this area, this North Atlantic area, in April. I said maybe it might be a good idea to sail like in May or June. But for the fact that they wanted to create that world record right there, Mr. Bruce Ismay refused. And after E.J. Smith told him all the reasons why they shouldn't go in April, he looked at the ship and shook his head and said, I want you to sail like a captain, not even God can sink this ship. See that statement right there? So that ship became known as the Unsinkable, a ship that not even God can sink. And today we know his picture in New York. They had an inquiry in New York. And this is Mr. Bruce Ismay right here. Bruce Ismay, managing director of the Mercantile, you know. In New York, people wanted to know, well, how did you get out? Because the captain said women and children to get out. How did you get out? Do you guys know how he got out? You watched that movie, right?
He jumped on the ship with one of the lifeboats with the women, pretending like, oh, this is my daughter.
He saw, from what the story is saying, he was coming up, panicking, thinking what to do. And then he saw a lady wrapping up her baby.
Yes.
And he goes, let me help you, let me help you. So he took the baby, put a floor on himself, came out, and they said, get in. So he got in.
Yeah.
That's how he survived there, but he denied it.
Yeah.
Because in the inquiry in New York, they wanted to know, well, how did you get out? And he couldn't come up with any good answer. Eh? But the assumption now, and what they did in the movie, was they depict him as escaping that way.
Yeah.
He denied it till he died there.
Yeah, the little girl was sitting there all alone crying for her mommy. So he took her and he's like, I have a child.
And then they push him on board. So he went on. See, with all the panic, you know your history, man. Come on.
And I mean, it's a good idea to sneak on.
But in the movie, they make it look like most of the men were sitting there while the ship was going down.
Yeah.
In actual life, it wasn't like that. It was a big panic.
They were trying to jump into lifeboats and
and then they've been pushed out.
Yeah, and there's since they were panicking so much and pushing to get on the lifeboats, they got shot.
This is probably Colton, somebody's. This is erected to the memory of an unknown child whose remains were recovered after the disaster of the Titanic. So people come and donate little things for the unknown in memory of that poor unknown child that perished in the Titanic.
This, a few minutes ago, I told you how the captain said women and children to get out. And if you look right here, my wife just called me a few minutes ago. It wasn't long ago. My wife was this age too. And I have 4 children. So it made me took special interest in this family. I wanted to know more about this family here.
So you looked them up?
I looked them up. I did a good research on this family. They're from Sweden originally. Mr. Niels here moved to New York and was a cobbler. Thank you, shoemaker, cobbler. So apparently he was able to save some money right after the birth of Gustav. That's when he moved. He was able to save some money, so he asked Alma to take a passage with the Titanic and come over to New York. Very similar to what I would do today if I'm migrating from Africa to my family. But anyway, that very morning, on April, the day the ship went down, Mr. Neil Paulson here went to the port in New York, and probably all excited, maybe with flowers, waiting for his family because family is coming. And then the news that came, first news that came with the Titanic was that the Titanic went down and nobody survived it. But today we know that 866 survived, right? But the first news that came out was that everybody went down on that ship. Neil, on hearing that news, the shock of the news, he took a heart attack right there, and they killed him, and he died. Somehow, I'm happy that he died because as a father, I don't think I'll be able to be happy to live, knowing that all my children, wasn't enough living. So he killed him. Mrs. Alma Paulson, in the movie that James Cameron directed, showed her with her children, and they were huddled in their room, and she was singing to them. She was singing to them while the ship was going down. Because people like her, by the time they came up, there was no lifeboat.
She knew.
And to make things worse, the English up to today do it on their ship. They built it in class.